America says it believes in second chances, in redemption, in paying your debt and moving on, but Marcus Thompson found out that's a lie. Marcus was 20 years old when he made the worst decision of his life: armed robbery. Convenience store. He was young, angry, desperate. He got caught. He got sentenced. 15 years, and he served every single day of those 15 years becoming someone different. In prison, Marcus earned his GED, learned carpentry, learned electrical work, took every rehabilitation program offered, became a mentor to younger inmates, got letters of recommendation from the warden, the prison psychologist, his teachers. Everyone who knew him said the same thing. Marcus Thompson is what rehabilitation looks like. When he walked out of prison at 45, Marcus had one goal: prove that people can change, prove that he'd changed, prove that second chances mean something. 6 months later, Marcus sat in a halfway house wondering if he'd made a mistake getting out of prison. At least in prison, he had purpose, had respect, had a future. Outside? 212 job applications, 212 rejections, not because he couldn't do the work, because he had to check that box. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Yes. And that yes erased everything else. Every skill he'd learned, every course he'd taken, every recommendation letter, every year of transformation, all erased by one word. So Marcus wrote a letter, not to a politician, not to an activist, to Johnny Carson. Because maybe, Marcus thought, if America wouldn't listen to him, they'd listen to Johnny. The letter said, "Mr. Carson, I paid my debt to society 15 years. I served every day. I changed. I'm ready to contribute, but nobody will give me a chance. Am I supposed to be punished forever? When does my sentence actually end?" Johnny read that letter on The Tonight Show, not to embarrass Marcus, not to make a political point, but to ask America a simple question. If we say we believe in second chances, why don't we give them? Marcus Thompson grew up in Detroit rough neighborhood. Single mother working 2 jobs. He was a good kid until he wasn't. At 18, Marcus fell in with the wrong crowd, started doing things he knew were wrong. By 20, he was desperate for money. His mother was sick. Bills were piling up, and Marcus made a choice that would define the next 15 years of his life. He walked into a convenience store with a gun. Demanded money. The clerk gave him $300. Marcus ran, got caught 2 blocks away. The judge looked at this 20-year-old kid and gave him 15 years, said he needed to learn consequences. Marcus learned them. The first 2 years in prison were hard. Marcus was angry at the system, at himself, at everyone. He got into fights, spent time in solitary, was heading down a path that would keep him locked up forever. Then, something changed. Marcus's mother came to visit. She looked tired, old, and she said something that broke him. "Baby, I didn't raise you to waste your life in here. You're better than this. Prove it." Marcus started crying right there in the visiting room. His mother held his hand through the glass and said, "You have 15 years. Use them. Become the man I know you can be." And Marcus did. He started with his GED, studied every night, passed on his first try. Then he enrolled in every program the prison offered: carpentry, electrical work, anger management, substance abuse counseling. He didn't need all of them, but he took them anyway, wanted to be ready, wanted to transform completely. The prison psychologist noticed the change, started meeting with Marcus regularly, wrote in his file, "Marcus Thompson shows genuine remorse and remarkable personal growth. He is actively working toward rehabilitation." The warden noticed too. Started using Marcus as an example for other inmates, asked him to mentor the younger prisoners. Marcus became the guy who told 20-year-olds, "Don't be me. Learn from my mistake. You can be better." By year 10, Marcus was a different person. The angry kid who'd walked into that convenience store was gone. In his place was a man who'd taken responsibility, who'd learned skills, who'd helped others, who'd earned respect through actions, not violence. His mother visited when she could. Each time she'd say, "I'm proud of you, baby. You're proving me right." Marcus held on to those words. They got him through the hard nights, through the times when freedom felt impossibly far away. When Marcus finally walked out of prison at 45, he had a folder full of certificates, recommendations from the warden, the psychologist, his teachers. A plan for his future. He was going to get a job, save money, get an apartment, maybe eventually start his own business, help other ex-convicts rebuild their lives. Marcus believed in second chances because he was living proof they were possible. The first week was exciting. Marcus applied to 10 jobs: construction, electrical work, carpentry, things he was trained for, things he was good at. He felt confident, ready. Then the rejections started. The first one hurt, the second one stung. By the 10th, Marcus started to worry. By the 50th, he was panicking. Every application had the same question: have you ever been convicted of a felony? Marcus checked yes, because he wasn't going to lie. He'd learned honesty in prison. Learned that taking responsibility meant telling the truth, even when it was hard. But that honesty was destroying him. Employers saw that checkmark and stopped reading. Didn't matter that he had skills. Didn't matter that he had recommendations. Didn't matter that he'd spent 15 years preparing for this exact moment. All they saw was felon, criminal, risk. Marcus tried everything, applied to jobs below his skill level, offered to work for minimum wage, volunteered to start as an unpaid intern just to prove himself. Nothing worked. The answer was always the same: we appreciate your application, but we've decided to go with another candidate. Translation: we don't hire criminals. By month 6, Marcus had applied to over 200 jobs, rejected by every single one. He was living in a halfway house. His savings from prison jobs were running out. His parole officer was getting worried, and Marcus was starting to lose hope. One night, Marcus sat in the halfway house common room watching The Tonight Show. He did this every night, had done it in prison too. There was something comforting about Johnny Carson's voice, something that made the world seem less harsh. That night, Johnny was interviewing someone about redemption, about second chances, about how America believes in people changing. And Marcus felt something snap inside him. America didn't believe in second chances. Not really. Not for people like him. So Marcus wrote a letter, poured his heart onto paper, told Johnny everything: the crime, the sentence, the transformation, the rejections, the hopelessness. And he asked one question: when does my sentence actually end? Marcus mailed the letter and forgot about it. Johnny Carson got thousands of letters. Why would he read one from an ex-convict? But Marcus had to try, had to reach out to someone, anyone. 2 weeks later, Marcus got a phone call from The Tonight Show. They wanted him to come on, not as a guest exactly. Johnny wanted to read his letter on air, wanted America to hear Marcus's question. Marcus was terrified, going on national television as an ex-convict. What if it made things worse? But his parole officer encouraged him. Maybe someone will listen. What do you have to lose? October 12th, 1987. Marcus sat backstage at The Tonight Show, heart pounding. He wasn't going to be on camera. Johnny was just going to read his letter. But still, Marcus was terrified. Then Johnny walked out for his monologue, did his jokes, interviewed a celebrity normal show, and then Johnny got serious. Folks, I want to share something with you tonight. I got a letter that I can't stop thinking about. It's from a man named Marcus Thompson. Johnny held up the letter, Marcus's handwriting, his words, and Johnny started reading. He read about Marcus's crime, his sentence, his transformation, his recommendations. And then Johnny read the rejections, 200 applications, 200 no's. And Johnny read Marcus's question. I paid my debt to society 15 years. I served every day. I changed. I'm ready to contribute, but nobody will give me a chance. Am I supposed to be punished forever? When does my sentence actually end? Johnny set the letter down, looked at the camera, and said something that Marcus would never forget. Marcus asks when his sentence ends, and I think that's a question we all need to answer. We say we believe in rehabilitation. We say we believe in second chances. We say we believe people can change, but do we? Because if we do, why are we still punishing Marcus? He served his time. He transformed himself. He's ready to work, and we won't let him. So what are we really saying? That some mistakes can never be forgiven? That once you're a criminal, you're always a criminal? That rehabilitation is a lie we tell ourselves to feel good? I don't know the answer, but I know Marcus deserves one. And I think America needs to ask itself, if we don't believe in second chances, we should stop pretending we do. The audience was silent. This wasn't entertainment. This was a challenge. Johnny had just asked America to examine its own hypocrisy, to confront the gap between what it says and what it does, and millions of people watching at home were forced to think about it. The next morning, Marcus's parole officer called. "You're not going to believe this. We've gotten over 50 calls from businesses wanting to interview you." Marcus couldn't believe it. Johnny's words had worked. Someone had listened. Marcus interviewed with several companies. Most were just curious, wanted to seem progressive. But one was different. A construction company owner named David Chen had watched Johnny's segment, had felt convicted by it. David called The Tonight Show directly, said he wanted to give Marcus a real chance, not charity. A real job based on real skills with real opportunity for growth. Marcus interviewed with David, showed him his certificates, his recommendations, talked about his transformation. David hired him on the spot. "Everyone deserves a second chance," David said. "I'm going to give you yours. Don't make me regret it." Marcus didn't. He showed up early every day, worked harder than anyone, never complained, took on extra projects. Within 6 months, David promoted him. Within a year, Marcus was training new employees. Within 3 years, Marcus was a site manager, making good money, living in his own apartment, paying taxes, contributing to society. Everything he'd dreamed about during those 15 years in prison was finally happening. All because Johnny Carson read his letter and asked America a question it didn't want to answer. Marcus stayed in touch with Johnny's show, sent updates about his progress. Johnny mentioned him once more on air months later. "Remember Marcus Thompson, the ex-convict nobody would hire? He's now a site manager at a construction company. Turns out second chances work when we actually give them." Marcus cried when he heard that. Someone had believed in him. Someone with a platform had used it to challenge injustice, and it had changed everything. 10 years later, Marcus started his own program, helping ex-convicts find employment, using his story to convince businesses to give second chances. "I was Marcus," he'd tell employers. "I was the guy you wouldn't hire, and look at me now. Your next best employee might be sitting in prison right now, transforming themselves, waiting for someone to see past that checkbox." The story of Marcus Thompson isn't just about one man getting a job. It's about America confronting an uncomfortable truth. We say we believe in redemption, but we don't practice it. We say we believe people can change, but we don't let them prove it. We say prison is about rehabilitation, but we punish people forever anyway. Johnny Carson didn't solve this problem. One letter on one show didn't fix a broken system, but he asked the question, made millions of people uncomfortable, forced America to look at the gap between its ideals and its actions, and in doing so, he gave Marcus Thompson his life back. The checkbox still exists on most job applications. Millions of ex-convicts still face what Marcus faced. The system is still broken. But Marcus proved something important that night. That one voice can make a difference. That asking the right question matters. That maybe, if enough people start questioning our assumptions about criminals and redemption and second chances, things can change. Marcus Thompson served 15 years for one mistake. Then he served another 6 months being rejected by society. But when someone finally gave him a chance, he proved what he'd known all along. People can change. The question is whether we'll let them. If this story made you think, consider the people in your community who are trying to rebuild their lives. Subscribe for more stories about second chances and human dignity. Share this with someone who needs to believe that change is possible. And comment below, do you think America really believes in redemption? Or is it just something we say? Because Marcus Thompson asked a simple question that night. When does my sentence actually end? And America still hasn't given him a good answer.